It's a matter of opinion. If I'm right, but I'm leaving no for now to go outside, putting shores and obligations on our pride. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Matter of Opinion. I'm your boy Walls P.
I'm your girl, Erica.
And today's topic, we're going to be talking about the People of Color theme house from UC Berkeley College. You want to give the people a breakdown of said topic?
Okay, so this particular housing option has been available at UC Berkeley since 2015. They established this housing for low income students, first generation immigrant students, and for marginalized students of color. The breakdown of the housing itself, you have 7 single rooms, you have 20 double occupancy rooms, 2 triple occupancy rooms, and 1 quad room, which would give you a total of 56 residents in this particular house. It's housed on 5 levels for the accommodations over by the school. In general, this was an option that was thought about when they started doing options for inclusion at the school. So, most college students, you usually know regular residence hall, campus apartment, but then they started offering other types of off campus housing and family housing for undergraduate and graduate students on campus.
Now, the thing that's going on is that you have a lot of people who are having problem with it, giving pushback, and it's mainly people of the white community. And the reason why they're having an issue with this is because the POC has house guest rules. House members and rules should always be respected by all guests. Make sure your guests understand house values and uphold the theme of the house, as you are responsible for their behavior. Many POC members moved here to be able to avoid white violence and presence. So respect their decision to avoid it if you bring white guests. Guest limit per house members is 5 guests. All guests must wear a mask in common spaces. Always announce guests in the guest chat if they will be in common spaces with you and if they are white. Guests are allowed in common spaces, but please be mindful there are house members in the room beforehand. White guests are not allowed in common spaces. Do not leave the guests alone in common spaces to avoid house members assuming it's stranger and alerting the house chat. Avoid bringing parents, family members that express bigotry, queer, black, and
Indigenous.
indigenous. Yeah, indigenous members should not have to avoid common spaces because of homophobic parents, family members. Be conscious of the amount of noise you and your guests are making in common spaces or in your room. Our house walls are very thin, and we have quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 9 a.m. weekdays, 1 a.m. to 10 a.m. weekends. So the looks of it, you can have guests, but just not in the common area. You can have them in your room and stuff like that, but just not in common areas. Okay, so do you agree with the practices of this POC house?
Okay, I do. And the reason is I stayed on campus in college. So
Hmm.
each campus house has their own set of rules. Each student has the option to choose their housing. So in my case, I stayed in a sports dorm at one point in time where I played on campus sports. It was only people that played sports at the school. We all had curfews. We all had a rule where you could only have one guest in your room at a time. You had to sign in your guest. You could not be at, common areas had their own rules. So I do feel like because of the theme of this particular house, those are their set of rules. And when you came to stay in that particular house, you were given those their sets of rules so you knew what to follow and what not to follow. So I don't see anything wrong with it. It's the same thing as if I was visiting a sorority house or a fraternity house. It's the same thing if I was going on to, you know, on campus housing for families. They have sets of rules that other dorms do not have to abide by.
Here's the issue that I have with it because I don't see no problem with the house rules and how it's for people of color or anything like that. The reason why I don't is because whenever it comes to anything that's black related, and I know people are going to say, hey, wow, we're talking about race, but that's the reality of the situation. Whenever it comes to anything that's black related, You ask any regular black folks, they will always say, "We don't have nothing. We don't get nothing." I can remember it was about 2 years ago where they had BlurDaCon, it was called, which was basically a place for like black nerds where they, go dress up as Star Wars and all of these different things, anime people. The way they the way that they advertise it, it's basically something for black folks. Heads the name BlurDaCon, black and nerds. They put them together. And that year, there was a lot of blowback because a white person actually won the contest of wearing the best costume. And when you look at all the other people on the costume, she was not even in the top five, let alone top 10 for her costume. And she wound up winning. And there was, pushback. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of black people feel when it comes to anything or any little bit that we might have, we like it's stripped away from us, so to speak. So them making their privately owned housing for black people, I don't see what's the issue. And this is another thing too. Before I even go into that part, I don't hear nobody talk or say anything or give pushback when it comes to Jews who have, what is it, day schools that all Jewish students go to. I don't hear nobody saying anything or complaining about that. Like, oh, why can't, whites or blacks go to, I don't hear none of that. It's always when it comes to our community, when we try and have something for our own, there's some pushback to it. Now, I could understand if there was pushback if this was publicly owned, but this is privately owned. Just like if you have a private institute, like a job, whatever, that's privately owned, company that's privately owned, I should say, and all they want to do is hire white people, fine, hire white people. If all you want to do is hire Spanish people, fine, hire Spanish people. It's all good. It's a private business.
Correct,
Um,
but you can't do that in a private business and collect federal funding, and I think
that's what
that's
I'm
the
saying.
biggest pushback.
That's what I'm saying. I don't believe that they're collecting any federal funding because the school itself says that this is separate. This has no affiliation with Berkeley. They have no control over what the landlords decide to do. So they're not getting no fund, no, federal funding. So I understand that part, which I'm gonna have you break all that down because I know that's your expertise for the viewers. So we're gonna have a segment on that part for you can break that down. But with that being said, I don't understand how the the way that blacks are viewed in society is that we're the most violent in all of this stuff, right? So my question is to the people who saw this and gave pushback, why would you want the doors opened up to the people that you feel are a threat to you or violent towards you? Case in point, the Terrell Owens video. What did that woman say when the cops came? She literally said to Terrell Owens and to the officer, "You're a black man. You got out your car. You're a black man walking up to a white woman." That's what she said.
Right, because you're gonna yell at me and telling me I'm almost hit you, and I didn't.
But you didn't have to get out of your fucking car.
You didn't have to talk to me that way either,
You're a
Karen.
black man approaching a white woman.
First of all, you had your boy right here, your husband right here. So first of all, I don't do that type of stuff.
So let's think about it. And Erica, you could attest to it. If you're in some town like in Mississippi or something like that, and when you look around, you don't see no blacks around, and you're giving the impersonation that we only want whites here, we don't want blacks here. What is your next action? You're like, I'm getting the hell up out of here. Correct? You don't say, yo, let me go to my politician and tell them they better serve me. And no, you look at it and be like, yo, I'm not wanted here. I see where you stand. I'm gonna go business. And I'm not even gonna look at it as, yo, this is how all white people are or whatever. No, this is how this community operates. I see where you stand. I'm good with it. I'm gonna go about my business. There's even places where black people say to themselves, yo, you don't even want to be caught here when the sun goes down. So they do everything possible to not be there in the dark. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, why would I want an establishment to open the doorways for me if I feel that these people are violent towards me? You get what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with the situation.
Okay, now I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You have to remember, black students come in all shades and colors.
Mm-hmm.
That is another issue for me. What if I am biracial and I don't always look the part of being a black student? I do feel like that is my housing option as well, because you can't discount that I'm of mixed race and don't fit in. So you have to look at that too, because you do have people who are more fair skinned who consider themselves black. That is my housing option. And if
Yeah,
that's the place that I choose to be at, I don't want to have I don't want to have any issues with me saying I want that as my housing option. This is all I know, and I may fit into that category of first generation going to college. I might fit in that I look indigenous. You like those are the things. I You can't be doing a brown paper bag test for me to get into these places too.
I don't think they're doing a brown paperback test. I believe they're basing it off of honesty, so to speak, because on the paperwork you got to fill out what your race is. So, with that being said, I guess if you're black, as because people who are mixed and everything like that, like Tiger Woods, he said, I'm not black, I'm mixed race. You black. That's the way everybody view you. If a police pull you over, they're like, "Black man, step out of your vehicle." So that that's how they view it, plain and simple. Now I understand, the whole fair skin thing, but if you're black, you're black. Mixed race, whatever the case may be, I see it as, hey, you're black. That's just how I view it. And I didn't hear anything about pushback about that. If there is, then yeah, that's a problem. Like you got to go back and I guess readjust how your wording of your policies or whatever. But like I
Correct.
said, I didn't hear anything about that, so to speak. So, but I like I said, for me, I'm perfectly fine with it. Like I don't see, and I'm not saying it just because I'm a black man. If the shoe was on the opposite foot, whether it's a white, Spanish, Asian, they have a privately owned house, and that's what they want to do. Then that's what you want to do. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I perceive that this issue came to be because I was having a conversation with my friend about this, and they were like, "Yo, honestly, the way it sounds like these people, like the white people, saw the establishment and everything like that, saw it was nice or whatever the case may be, and they wanted to get into it because it's low income housing and wasn't able to do so. So now it's like, yo, I'm pissed off about it. I got to report this."
Okay, so I don't think it was on that lines. I think what they did is they started, maybe somebody came to visit and was like, "Oh, this is okay." But then when they started looking at some of the rules, and they're like, "What do you mean? You're not? I can't leave you in a comment area by yourself." No, but if you think about it, that's in any dorm that you go to. You're not supposed to leave your guests unaccompanied. Your guests got to go to the bathroom. Guess what? You about to get up and walk over to that bathroom with them.
Mm,
Because what happens if something happens in that house and it is your guest? Guess what? You're the responsible party for that person. In
got
college,
you.
just about most of us are adults, starting college, but you do have a few minors that start school earlier.
Hmm.
You have to protect those people. You have to protect the people in your house. And if you're bringing in somebody and they're breaking these rules, then guess what? They are no longer able to come into these places.
Got you. All right. So I guess you can give a expert analysis on why this privately owned establishment is able to do what it's able to do as far as their rules, while others aren't.
Okay, so the reason that they are able to have their set of bylaws because it's their house. So you have to think about it. When you go to a college, there are multiple housing options. So if you stay in the dorms, a lot of times it's a room, a refrigerator, you know, a bathroom, but no full kitchen because most dorms don't give you full kitchens until you get to the common areas. They're just basically hotel style, room, bathroom, keep it moving. When you move over to the on campus housing for the apartments, those are usually set up like apartments where you have your room, your bathroom, your kitchens, usually for upperclassmen or people who have, restrictions where they need to have their own refrigerators, they need to
Hmm.
cook, that type of stuff.
Hmm.
So when you start looking at those different housing options, it's a lot of times, depending on the school, they try to match you with a roommate that will complement you. So a lot of times you're filling out a housing form. You're filling out a questionnaire. They're trying to match you with the best candidate possible. But there is a mix of on campus housing and off campus. The reason you have that off campus because a lot of times there is not enough housing options that the school has for that particular campus because housing a lot of times fills up and it's like, okay, let me figure out my other options. When you start going over to those other options, then yes, those are different rules that you have to follow. They have different rates, they have different curfews, they have, everything can be different. And the people that created those bylaws, either the owner of that building or the collected group of whoever's running that particular building, are able to set their rules as they see fit.
So basically, they got to go to the college, right, and be like, "Hey, we have rooming or housing for your students." So they make that connection with the college, correct?
Correct.
Now,
So
do they have? Now, here's a question I have: do they have to lay out their rules or anything to the college, or no? It's just, hey, this is the dorms that we have, and that's that.
they do. So when you
Okay,
have on camp, if you have off campus options and it's listed on the school's website, they have to tell you all of that information. They have to
okay,
tell you what their amenities are. They have to tell you what their rules are. They're telling you, hey, this particular house's theme is to create a safe space and welcoming to their house members. If they have a pool, they will tell you, hey, we have a pool and these are the pool hours. So those are all things like they have themed. Now, their events is something different. They don't have to tell the school, hey, we're throwing these themed events because that's their thing. But yes, when it comes to that as a housing option, they're giving the school a list of everything that they do. On top of some of these schools list some of these housing as options on their websites where you click going, hey, what is alternate housing options? Because a lot of times like if you have a new student coming into the area, they may not know what the housing options are. If they did not get that housing from the school, they may not know where to go. You're talking, I'm you're talking college before internet was available, before
mhm.
people were just posting on rent.com. Hey, if you're looking for on campus or right off of the campus housing, you didn't have that kind of stuff. You had to walk the area. You had to look for, house roommate wanted signs back when I went to school. So like these are new things for people at this point.
The reason why the school is getting a lot of pushback is because people are thinking these are things that UC Berkeley has control over, and actually they don't. They told the Post that co-op housing is not run by the university and is actually operated by a private landlord, and it is not the role of the campus to comment on what private landlords are allowed to do. So they have no affiliation with it. But a
Co-
lot of people on the outside looking in are thinking, "Oh, Berkeley is being racist and stuff." And no, that's not what's happening. This is a privately owned establishment that set their own rules. Go ahead.
Correct. And even if you go on their website, it clearly tells you nowhere near does it says UC Berkeley. It does, it says it based off of their name, the Berkeley Student Cooperative. So like when you look, it clearly tells you in their mission statement, it tells you, hey, this is a program for students that go to the school, but this is not through the school.
Got
Because
you.
you have to think about it. Housing a lot of times with housing on campus, the on campus stuff is part of the school. The off campus stuff is not part of the school. Think about with any school that has a sorority house or a fraternity house. They have their own sets of rules because they are not ran by the school. They are ran by their alumni associations. They're
Yep.
ran by, their sororities or their fraternities. So
And not
no,
and
they
and not just anybody could walk up in there. So yep.
correct.
Yeah. All right. So I hope this brings some clarity to those who are thinking, oh, Berkeley is being racist and all of this stuff. Basically, this happens all the time, just in different areas. And just so happen in this area, it's a living space for people of color. That's going to do it for this episode of Matter of Opinion. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section. We would love to hear your take on the matter. If it's your first time here, definitely hit that subscribe button. And those who've been with us, we appreciate you helping us grow to over 6,000 subscribers. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we could be at 8,000. Let's see if we can make that happen. Definitely smash that like button and share this video on your social media platforms, because I guarantee you there's a lot of people who could definitely find this video useful. If you want to follow us on our other social media platforms, the links are in the description. That's going to do it. I'm your boy, Walls P.
I'm your girl, Erica.
And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
It's a matter of opinion.